Nobody wants February to be redone after this particular February, so it's March 4th, 2014. Please stand for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, good evening, everybody. We had a meeting previous to this one here tonight, and it was establishing the project. If you stay up to date with some of the things that we're doing a capital project at the Old Albany Post Road dead end. The road has gotten damaged by several of the hurricanes, particularly bad by, believe it or not, Hurricane Irene. And so we're at a point now where we are doing the construction of the road, and it's a unique situation because it's going to be a very cooperative effort between the residents and the contractors and the town engineers and the town highway department because it's such a small road. So we're hoping that it all works out. We have a couple of things on our agenda tonight, and to also remind everybody that this is your meeting, and so please ask any questions you want to ask. But we're going to start off by the proposed annexation of election districts 17 and 20. I have a statement that I'm going to read, and we are going to have a special meeting this evening. The special meeting this evening is only going to be to vote on the negative declaration for the CEQA process. Part of a proposed annexation of any property requires a CEQA process. And a CEQA process, it means, are there environmental reasons that this should be done? Is there, is there water? Is there roads? What is there? And the town chose to be the lead agency on this CEQA process, and we have determined that there are no environmental issues in this process. So we will be voting on a negative declaration for the CEQA process. It gets very complicated with that. But making it simple, it simply means that we don't think, because it's such a built-out community, that there would be any environmental pros or cons. So sometimes when an annexation petition goes in, it's over whether another community could supply more water to that annexed property. Or sometimes believe it or not, a property owner tries to annex off into another community because he wants his development to be built in a much friendlier circumstance. So that's why you do the CEQA process, and we will be voting on that tonight. One of the things that we have to vote by the 12th of March on whether or not we would move forward, that we would either say we believe that this would be in the best interest of all the people, all the residents of Ossining, that we don't believe it would be or we don't believe it's in the best interest of everyone in Ossining. And of course, we've said the same plans the same reasoning over and over again. If both municipalities say no, that it is not in the best interest of the, as the law says, of the entire community, then the matter dies. If both communities say yes, that could be in the best interest, then it would go to the voters of the District 17 and 20. And if one of the municipalities says no and one of the municipalities says yes, then the municipality that says yes has the option to go to the appellate court and to make a determination, which starts another whole process. We have determined tonight that we need to listen to our residents one more time. And so we will have it on our agenda next Tuesday at a regular legislative meeting. But we do want to hear from you tonight. And I'm going to read a statement of some of the findings that we've come up with so far, or some of the reasoning of the findings we've come up with so far. And then we want to hear from you so that we can go back one more time, contemplate and then make our decision. It must be established by the governing boards that annexation would be in the best interest of the community as a whole. The referendum would be the last step in the process, and there is to be no presumption in favor of voter determination of annexation. This board viewed the hearing as an opportunity for the residents of District 17 and 20 to state specifically with factual support why they were either for or against annexation. The hearing was not a forum for the municipalities to lobby to the public to be either in favor or against the annexation. This board understands that establishing and changing municipal boundaries will cause significant impacts to multiple segments of the overall community. In the case of annexation, these impacts will be felt not just by the individuals living in the area that's going to be annexed, but in the areas of the overall community that would never get a chance to vote on the matter if it came to referendum. There needs to be a clear and actual and tangible benefit to all parties that are evident to both government bodies and the communities as a whole. In conducting its mandated review, this board adhered to the established authorities and legal precedents on annexation by viewing benefit and deterrent to the community as defined in the terms of the municipal services such as police and fire protection, health regulations, sewer and water services, public utility, and public education. We believe that the main purpose of annexation, and therefore the major focus of review under the law, is to facilitate the improvement of basic services being delivered to either the area being annexed or to the municipality doing the annexing, without harming the other portions of the overall community. Our other inquiry is whether the annexing local government and the territory to be annexed have the is in unity for the purpose of facilities to constitute a community. In order to justify annexation, it must be shown not that the taxes will be reduced, but that the residents of 17 and 20 will benefit from overall services and receive services that otherwise aren't being provided as a result of annexation without deterrents to other parties. In this regard, we stand by the position that special districts that exist will not be impacted by annexation. Therefore, water, sewer, fire, ambulance, solid waste, and lighting will not be changed, and the same services will be provided now will continue to be provided after if annexation was to happen through the special districts. We are required to examine existing conditions and facts to determine whether annexation is in the best interest of the overall community. Services reviewed by this board and its analysis include highway, police, and recreation. Again, the question will not be whether the services can be provided by Briarcliff more affordably, but whether the services can or are being provided by the town and whether annexation will improve them. As to police services, the town will consider the services provided by Westchester County Police Department, including response times and other service issues. Similar consideration will be given to the Highway Department. Regarding recreation services, the town will consider the level and broad array of recreation services available to the town residents, including access to the wonderful indoor pool facility. Consideration will be given to the recreational opportunities and whether there is a deficiency in available recreational services in the town. Another matter on which we will consider is the ability to park at Scarborough train station and the utilization of the valet parking services. The annexation debate has a long history. We believe it is important to review that history. Once the annexation effort became known to the town, efforts were made to understand the issues and motivations of the proponents in the open and fully transparent manner. We understand that many people are interested in the tax implication of annexation. Although we disagree that this should be the focus of the review, we nonetheless are responding to the questions raised. The town formulated its analysis of potential tax implication of annexation, and in August 2011 made its conclusions public. The analysis was substantial and has been substantially updated. We believe that the analysis was performed utilizing realistic assumptions at that time and current figures. With taxation, there is simply too many variables. These numbers, as can be seen by constantly changing village numbers, are moving targets. The numbers can be easily impacted by a variety of assumptions and one key element such as manpower and the value of future contracts. The fact that providing services costs money. The constants that all governments must deal with are universal and include such items as union negotiated salaries and benefits, pension contributions, insurance, facilities, and equipment maintenance, an array of higher government mandates. Furthermore, any promise related to future taxation simply cannot be considered as reliable information to be factored into an annexation analysis. We also believe that the village has a responsibility, if it is promoting annexation, to present its position, including its reason for supporting annexation, which it has not. The town has required and will also consider the detriments to the areas of the town not included in the annexation effort. The town will consider the viable estimates regarding the tax implications to the areas not being annexed, and to the extent possible, the balance of Briarcliff Manor. Consideration must be given to the commercial properties on North State Road that are vital to the ability for the town to maintain a balanced tax base that is, which is vital for the entire unincorporated area of the town. Proposed use of the annexed land can be an important factor in justifying annexation. In the case there is no proposed new uses for District 17 and 20, which would either benefit these districts or the balance of Briarcliff Manor. The impact to the village of Ossining will be considered by the town as a factor in determining whether annexation is in the overall public interest, since the remaining governmental unit could also be said to include the village as part of the town. The other required factor that we considered is whether the annexing local government and the territory to be annexed have the unity of purpose and facilities to constitute a community. On this question, we have considered whether the residents of 1720 feel more a part of Ossining or the Briarcliff community. We will consider the level of community support in the form of signatures that petitions as a factor. We also note that a vital part of this community, the business community, has not communicated support for annexation. Excuse me. We will also consider that the geographical condition or connections that favors annexation. We will also consider the arguments made by some annexation proponents that being annexed to the village would somehow improve the quality of governmental representation that they receive. And we will also address whether annexation will add or eliminate a layer of government. So those are some of the things that we're just finishing up ourselves, and we wanted to have this one evening where we heard from the audience one last time, if anybody wants to come up and talk pro or con to annexation. We've been very open. We have it on our webpage. We've had several meetings about this. We've showed you all of the written comments that we received after the public hearing on December 12th. We kept the public hearing open for written comments until January 15th. And we have posted all of those on the webpage. We have not gotten any communication from Briarcliff as to whether they got different communications than we got or not. So as we wrap up our final week of our deliberation as to whether or not we think that annexation of election district 1720 would be in the best interest of the entire town of Ossining, which of course is the unincorporated area, the village of Ossining, and 91% of the village of Briarcliff. We'd like to see if anybody has any other comments that they'd like to make tonight.
I'd like to make a comment.
Sure. And again, this is being taped, and it's also, we're having minutes of the meeting.
My name is Barbara Fracciani. I was a former supervisor of the town of Ossining for 8 years. I'm confused by your statement that you read. You go from we will consider, we have considered. And I think what you're saying, everything is a little bit too late for me. From my standpoint, there was a public hearing that was held in December, which was part of the legal process for annexation. The petitions were delivered to both the village of Briarcliff and the town of Ossining in October. They had 90 days to respond to that petition in the form of a public hearing, again, which was held on December 17th. Those who attended the public hearing, which numbered about, and I might be wrong with the date,
Yeah,
but
no,
December,
I wanted, because I have a cold, I was just trying to.
fine. There was a well-attended meeting. About 100 residents came to hear both sides present facts and figures of what annexation would mean, not only to Briarcliff Village, the town of Ossining, but most importantly to the unincorporated town of Ossining, to those districts that are outside of 17 and 20. The village of Briarcliff prepared an extensive evaluation, an analysis of financial facts, legal facts, etc., updated from the 2011 and the 2012 meetings that were held. Tonight you speak of 2011 figures, and you're going to consider, you had an opportunity, and you should have had an opportunity, and you should have acted legally and responsibly, the entire board, at the public hearing. That is your responsibility to the residents of the town of Ossining. A public hearing is a legal process. And when the town of Ossining presented their side, it was like it was a welcome to the town of Ossining. These are the services that we provide to the town outside residents. And this is what we get from the village of Ossining. We have 19 intermunicipal agreements with the village of Ossining, which provides all of the services to the town outside. There is very little that the town itself does. Things have changed in 20 years since I've been in office. But I thought that I was appalled and shocked at the lack of responsibility for the town of Ossining to present factual information to the residents who came for that. And they came not knowing, they didn't have a position. They came there to learn, to be edified, to see whether or not that this annexation will work for them personally, whether it was a good thing or not a good thing. But the town of Ossining did not update any figures. It did not present any financial facts. And now you're going to say, well, now we're still waiting. We're still considering. Your time is over. You have to make a decision by March 12th. But who are you making it to? You're going to have another meeting for whom? You had a public hearing at which you did not perform. So I don't understand why we're going through this charade.
Well, and Barbara, you may have your opinion on this, and
Well,
you're more than welcome to.
That as a public official, you did
But
not
we from day one have never taken a financial look at this. We read the annexation policy as being about services rendered to the end user. In the meanwhile, since we've had that public hearing, we have asked Briarcliff to explain several questions because we were asked to come back with some financial information. We asked them to come back, we asked them 5 specific questions, which we brought up at several of these town hall meetings, and one of them being, where in your analysis of saving all this tax dollars is your 5 police officers and your 5 DPW, which you quote on page 33 of their PowerPoint, where have they been put into the figures? And they had not been put into the figures. So we have, if you look on the webpage, and we're more than welcome to look on the webpage, we have come back and revised, we asked Briarcliff, we have not gotten a response from Briarcliff on those questions, but we then went back and said, we took their numbers and put their numbers into a budget of adding these 10 employees to the thing, and there is no taxation savings. We are not looking at it as a tax savings thing. We were looking at it, and our whole point was that it's all about the services and how does it affect others in the community. And do you not get good services in the unincorporated area?
We get very good services. That's not the
Thank you.
point. That's not the point. That's only part of it. The only services that the town provides is highway services. We contract with the county.
The whole point that the governor has brought up is to have agreements with other communities so you don't have redundancies in services.
You have agreements, and there are agreements between Briarcliff and Oxford. That's not the point. The point I'm saying is that you missed an opportunity to give the residents a chance to hear factual information at a public hearing. Many of those people came with an open mind to learn the facts, to make an informed decision, which you have denied them. And now we're doing all this. Nobody got. Excuse me, I'm speaking, and I'll defer to you. When you have your website, people go to it, some people don't. But when people take the time to leave their homes, especially in the winter that we've had, to come and get information, I just think that you let them down.
Well, that's your opinion, and we want to thank you for your opinion. Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak? Yes, sir. You have to draw the other mic here.
I'm Ted Lake. I live in District 20 on Deer Trail, and when I go to the meetings that you've had, I was at the first meeting where the village of Briarcliff was here, and got absolutely nothing from them at all.
Can you get a little bit closer to the
Sure.
mic? Because they
I
can
just want to say I think you guys have done a terrific job explaining things, particularly in the last meeting or two. I have to disagree with Ms. Raniani that you've left everybody in the cold. You haven't. You've covered everything very well. The village of Briarcliff covered nothing when they were here. I was against this from the beginning, and I'm still against it. And all the neighbors that I know, all the people around me are also against it. I just want to thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment.
I just want to say the first town hall meeting that I was on this board, there was a presentation that did go into numbers, even though the statement had always been that this wasn't about the numbers. So there was an open meeting. It wasn't at the specific public meeting that you're talking about, which I was also at, but the very first town hall meeting that I sat on this table was about the numbers. And so, I do believe that there's been a conversation about the numbers. It just didn't come exactly at that particular meeting.
First of all, I'm Eric Blah. Thank you very much for coming out tonight and for your interest in this issue. It's an important issue, and the board has given a lot of thought to it. There's been a lot of public hearings, a lot of discussions. But I think there's just one misconception here, and that is, what is this board's role? I perceive my role on this board is to apply the law. And the law, according to what our town council has said, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, is that one of the primary purposes is to address whether or not the services would be better if annexation were ultimately approved. That's the issue. That's what we're focusing on. That is the law. To the extent that there's some distraction out there about whether or not there's some discounted taxation or some manipulation of numbers that will satisfy some residents, I don't know about that. To the extent that this board is being asked to address taxes, I think that they have. We have. There are issues that we're being asked to address, though, that really as far as I'm concerned, are not relevant to the issues that, if this is not agreed upon by the two boards, will ultimately go to the appellate division of the state of New York. So we're trying to arm the public, and ultimately, if necessary, the appellate division, with what matters. So I'm sorry if some people are dissatisfied with the fact that our approach, the lawful approach that's focused on the real issues, doesn't cut it for you. But we're doing what we think we're supposed to be doing, and to the extent that Briarcliff has posed some things to this town board, we've addressed them, even though we think that there's no legal obligation to do so. However, as the supervisor pointed out, we've posed questions to them that we think are relevant, and they haven't responded. So who's not doing their job out there? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Donna Sharon, and I had a letter in the Journal News and the Gazette, so my opinion is pretty clear to those who've read that I'm not for this annexation, but I would just like to address a couple issues. I was at that public hearing where Briarcliff gave the presentation, and I found it really confusing, the numbers, and I don't think that they mentioned the village manager's salary in that process, which is $165,000. It's a lot of money. It's odd that they would exclude that. About the time that this board is giving for the public to speak, I really appreciate it. What I resent is the time that this is taking because of a few residents that want to leave this town. They should have sold their houses and moved. Because if I didn't like it, that would be my option, and that's the route I would take. So I resent the residents that are causing me, and I have a lot on my plate, so I really resent that. Now, what I was going to say before that came up was that Ossining has offered a lot of really great recreational opportunities. A community garden, which I designed for the town, and I don't know that that's offered in other places. Briarcliff, there's a lot of recreational opportunities, and the services are good. I see no reason why I would want to leave Ossining, and I resent that someone's taking me out of Ossining. If they don't like Ossining, they should move. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Judy Weintraub. What I resent is the fact that I have to look over my shoulder continuously at what the town board is going to take away from me next. I've been living in the town outside for 40 years, and every few years, one of our services are being taken away. We lost our police department, and understandably so, because of reasons, for financial reasons, but there were options. There were options that we could have communicated, we could have combined with the village of Ossining and had more community policing type service. But we went with this larger department in the county. I have rarely see a police car up and down my street. They concentrate on 9A, and I think we've totally lost our community policing. Now it's the highway department. You decided that you didn't want to have, we shouldn't have an elected superintendent, but we fought for it, we voted for it. But I'm always looking over my shoulder. When is the town board going to get rid of my highway department and merge with another department? So you say the services are important. They are important to me. They're fabulous services. But every time I'm looking over my shoulder, what am I losing next? So I sort of like want a guarantee from the five of you. Can we keep my highway department just the way it is and have my street plowed, and I know that I'm going to get up my block? And can we get back to community policing where I can see a police officer up my street and maybe have the same police officer not be transferred from different various counties throughout Westchester County? How about one police department, 2 officers who know our neighborhood, who know our kids? But you can't guarantee that, and I can't guarantee. So I'm always looking over my shoulder and saying, when is it going to happen? When am I going to lose my highway department? So part of it is, I guess it's like we don't know. You know, every couple of years it's something different.
Thank you for your comment. Anybody else want to make a comment? Yes, sir.
Good evening, and thanks for the opportunity to address you. I'm a resident of the village of Briarcliff Manor, and I've attended the public hearings and looked into the website and attended village board meetings in Briarcliff to get an idea of what was going on. One of the things that I noted was at the December 12th meeting, there were many speakers who got up and asked for the board to consider finding a party, maybe an independent party, who could look over the data, the numbers, and help them understand which is correct and which is not, what the issues really are. I've noticed that both the town and the village have the same independent auditing firm. Was there any consideration given to asking them to look into the presentations that were made and look at the numbers and help advise the parties?
Well, one of the things is that we simply, again, we don't believe it's about the numbers as you want, and you're talking about tax savings or tax not savings. And all we did was add the numbers straight from the Briarcliff presentation, added in their 5 police officers that they want to add, if you look at their whole presentation, 5 police officers they want to add, and the 5 DPW, highway department people they want to, it's a DPW in the village, that they want to add. And we just put that in, which took away all of the savings of the tax. So our options right now is, I believe that if one votes yes and one votes no, and the one that votes yes chooses to go to the appellate court, the expenses of this whole process will start increasing. So because of the fact, and we've done all of our due diligence, we talk about this, this is something we work on all the time. We've had meetings on it. We've had it at all of our town hall meetings that we've had, which we have every 6 weeks. And we feel that we have done the numbers, as far as the numbers crunching is concerned, we simply used their numbers and didn't come up with any savings, but we don't even believe it's savings. We believe it's about services. It's a fundamental difference, I believe, of what you think annexation is all about. Thank you.
Sir?
Sir?
Aaron Stern.
Good evening. My name is Sandra Delano. I live on North State Road, and I am very much against this annexation. I spoke once before, and I will speak again. My understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, this whole process of annexation is to prove that a quality of life, a significant quality of life, will change if we annex to Briarcliff. I don't know if that's the fact or that's what I found out. Secondly, as far as the police, I always see them. I've unfortunately, had to call them, and they responded to my home within less than 3 minutes. They were there. The highway department, thank you, Michael, and the entire department. Our streets were cleaned. Everything was tip-top shape to drive down North State Road and all of the town of Ossining. Thank you, Michael, to the entire department. They even knocked over my mailbox. But that's okay. You know, my street was clean. Everything that is...
It was very heavy snow this year. You know.
Oh, it was terrible. Terrible. I mean, it was above my head, and I'm 5 feet. Everything that's going on right now, and I know before they dangled this taxation in front of everybody, your taxes are going to get lower. Well, I'm not a great financial person, but I will say to you, from a simple person's mind, if you go in and you have to hire more people and hire more and get more equipment and add to services what you need, that's going to come back to your taxes. I don't know where people get this idea that their taxes are going to be lowered. There's a few people who want the address of Briarcliff, Okay, I agree with the other lady. Move. Move into Briarcliff. As for me, I've got a Briarcliff address. Doesn't do a damn thing for me. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
I'm sort of like she is. I'm not good with all those numbers, but I've sat here and we had right back here everything spelled out. But now it seems like people forgot that it was there. But they also can. I was heard that it's people coming out in the cold. We are out in the cold too. We have to be here every week. We try to be here to do what we're supposed to do. But the community come out once every six weeks, and they complain, and I have to be out every week. And I just don't understand people's reasoning and how you say things. But for the police department, they were the first thing that the board tried to get the two departments to go together. And they didn't do it. They would not get together. And I'm talking about when Mr. Travokas was here. And these, everybody forgot it. Now you're afraid, I don't know of what. But we tried. We did everything. And as Eric just said, we have to do what's legal with it. And the minute if you sway a little bit, if we being chastised for doing it legally, my God, what would happen if we knew we were doing it illegally? And I just don't understand sometimes. It seems like you're wasting your time when you're here, because people don't seem to appreciate what you do. Thank you.
Any other comments about 17 and 20 annexation? Oh, yes, sir.
Good evening. I'm Bruce Garber, resident of 2 Ridgeview Drive in 17 or 20, wherever we are.
You're in one of the two, though.
I'm in one of the two, yeah. And I've been there for 12 years. My wife actually grew up on the street. She's not here tonight. This is interesting. It's been interesting to me. If you want to boil it down to services, right, and that's it. The reason why we talk about taxation is because you actually do pay for these services, and it comes out of our taxes. So I think that's one of the big reasons why the taxes come up all the time. But as far as services go, highway, police, recreation, if you want to hear it from me, the services are fantastic. I don't see any of the benefits of actually, merging or annexing or any of this stuff. Give me one benefit. I don't see any one that actually makes sense. I think you need to hear that. You guys are coming off a little frustrated tonight by this. It's just me. And if you are, I think I can make it pretty easy. Just vote no next week and this all goes away and you won't have to hear from us.
I don't mean to come off frustrated. I do have a very bad cold, so.
I mean,
Yeah. So I get what you're saying.
all right. I was hoping to see more people out tonight, but the ones that are here seem to be against this, and there's very few that seem to be pro-annexation. So, what's going on next Tuesday? So the votes.
It's the last meeting. It's actually a regular legislative meeting. See, we usually have the town hall meetings, which would have been a work session, and we usually do not take action during a work session or a town hall meeting. But we have determined tonight that we would do the negative declaration, which is saying that we see there are no environmental issues, pro or con, to this happening, but only environmental issues. Is that because you'll have water, it's a built-out community. There's no land that people are trying to populate and stuff like that. So
you go to vote next Wednesday night then?
Tuesday.
Oh, I have to write down the 12th.
Okay, we meet every single Tuesday night. People should know this. We meet every single Tuesday night, either at a work session, which is at 16 Croton Avenue, and you're more than welcome to come to every single meeting that we have, or every other week we meet at the courthouse on Spring Street, and we meet there to do our legislative. And the 90-day period ends on the 12th, yes. So Briarcliff will vote between now and then. I read in the Gazette that they have it penciled in for tomorrow night to make their vote, and that, I use the word penciled in, so that was what it was written. And so between this time and now, by next Wednesday on the 12th, everyone should know how both boards, and I believe both boards are doing their due diligence, and I believe that they'll take the vote that they think is appropriate for the entire community.
Okay. A little concerned, that's for sure. So I highly encourage you to vote no, please. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just a point of information.
Can you come up with the reason you have to come up to the mic is for the camera, because again, as everybody knows, we take minutes and we film everything.
Just a point of information. This process has been going on for quite a while.
Yes.
What costs have been incurred on this process so far, if any?
Well, we did it. We had to do a mail. Besides time, people's time. Right? It hasn't been that much of a cost. It's been about, would you say, Maddie, about $1,500 and more than that, or each?
Between us
and Briarcliff.
Well, we had to have our consultant prepare the negative declaration.
Oh, that's
process. I'm sure it's going to be, we haven't seen the bill yet, but I would imagine it's
Right.
going to be about $2,000.
Right.
The mailing and the postage, which they did agree to split with us, our half was $1,500, so that's another $3,000. And then, prior to this actual stage of the process, there have been expenses. You may remember the pamphlet that went out in 2011. So that's not exactly part of this stage of the process, but it has cost probably
And I'll
$10,000
repeat what you're saying.
to town taxpayers over the course
So,
of 2 years.
so just to repeat what she said, so you can hear it in the back and everything, was about a $3,000 required by law mailing to the residents of 17 and 20. There was a pamphlet that went out in 2011 timeframe, and we had to, as lead agency, we had to use our planning consultants to evaluate and do the negative, and determine whether it should be a negative declaration or not for the environmental, do the secret process. So far, we would say it's been about, probably about $8,000 spent.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stacy Trapp. I live on Ganum Drive. I don't know what, 17 or 20?
17.
17. I find it all really confusing. And I lived here for 20 years, and I think this might be the third time this has happened.
Well, it's been an ongoing process. So.
Well, it seems like somebody comes up and says, I want to live in Briarcliff, but I don't. So I'm going to propose this annexation. And the other 2 times it's happened, it was turned down, and now it's happening again. Everybody that I speak to does not want this to happen. We live in Ossining. We chose to live in Ossining. We're happy with Ossining. We all agree that our services are very good. I know people who live in Briarcliff, and their services are not as good. I don't have proof of that. All I have is what they say. So I don't see the value of it. I won't have a Briarcliff PO. So I can't even go somewhere to the city and say, oh yes, I live in Briarcliff Manor, and feel good about that. Because it seems to make some people feel better about themselves to be able to say that. So we don't have that. We don't have Briarcliff schools. I do not see where the value is to the residents who will be now in Briarcliff. I do see that it would be very destructive to the residents who are left in Ossining. We're losing the whole financial district of the town of Ossining. And I also find that a lot of people aren't even really aware this is happening. I don't know, not everybody gets your emails there was one notification that came in the mail. I happened to see it. I could have very easily thrown that away as I'm going through all my millions of things that I get. And maybe a lot of people did throw it away. And I bring it up to people. I find a lot of people never have heard this is happening. They don't know anything about it. They don't understand it. And I think that probably the people who live not in 17 and 20 really don't know anything about it, and they're going to be most negatively affected by it. So I don't know what you can do about that. I think having spent $8,000 on stamps and trying to get this out to people is really sad. I know it was necessary, but it also doesn't seem to have been enough. Somehow, I think people need to find out about it, and they're not. So on top of all of that, then none of us want it. If you want to raise your hands, I mean, how many people here do not want this to happen? It's the majority of people here. So if the majority of us don't want it to happen, and it happens, do we really have a vote in this? That I don't understand.
Well, actually, let me just review that one more time. So, if both boards vote no, then the matter dies. If both boards vote yes, that it would be in the best interest of the entire community, then the voters, not the property owners, the voters in 17 and 20 would then go to the polling and determine that.
Okay.
If one board votes yes and one board votes no, the board that votes yes has the option to go to the appellate court to have it considered in Albany. So.
And the appellate court would override our vote, or we would
No.
have a
They
vote?
would determine whether or not the appellate court would then put a person in charge of it, who would then determine whether it followed the rule of the law for annexation. So if they determined that yes, it did follow the rule of the law and that annexation should happen, or no, could happen, then it would still go to the voters.
Okay. And now, does it go to the Briarcliff voters who would be getting
No.
our tax dollars?
No.
Okay.
It doesn't even go to the people in the unincorporated area that are not in District 17 and 20. It's
Right.
only the voters in 17 and 20.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you.
It gets,
Yeah, thank you. Thank you
Very
very
well.
much.
Hi, my name is Ken Camber. I live on Morningside Drive.
You gotta get closer.
I don't know if that's 17 or 20. You were talking about services before, so I just made out a quick list, and I just wanted to go over really what services we're talking about and where does that change, right? So for water, I think we're in the Ossining Water District. Does Briarcliff have a water district that we would move to the water creek?
No, you would stay in.
That wouldn't change. So I think where I live with fire that's in Briarcliff, right?
Yes.
So that wouldn't change, right?
Right.
Okay, just want to
Would
make sure I
change no
understand.
matter what. Yes,
Now,
yes.
ambulance, that's in Ossining, right?
You have OVAC, yes.
Would that change?
No, it shouldn't because we have the Mid-Hudson Ambulance District. Right.
Okay, so that's this. Now, police is Westchester, right?
You have
And
Westchester Police.
And Briarcliff has Briarcliff.
Right.
So would there be a way to measure the response time difference between the two? And is that within an acceptable threshold? So, I mean, I've had to unfortunately have the police come to my house. And they're there, like when I call up, like they're there in like 2 minutes. Is there ever, a way of measuring when they weren't in an acceptable tolerance?
Well, we did check, as part of our due diligence, we did check for any complaints or any time discrepancies that might have been for the police or ambulance, all the services, emergency services, and we did not find anything exceptional out there, you know. And every time we have had someone put in a complaint on the police services, we have a liaison to the Westchester County who's excellent. It's Lieutenant Alongi, and he responds immediately to it. He's usually here tonight, but he couldn't come tonight, but we have an officer here. So we have that. And I just want to point out, too, that the contract with the Westchester County was a 4-year contract, and in second quarter this year, we will be putting, because we legally need to do this, we'd be putting out an RFP for police services to the Village of Ossining, the Village of Briarcliff, and Westchester County. And we will make that an open process so that everyone in the unincorporated area is involved in that decision-making as to where the police services should come from in the future, and where certain police forces have higher, I don't want to say response rates or anything, but they have different levels of services and where they're stronger and they're not stronger. So. But in the Briarcliff presentation, it states very emphatically that they need to hire 5 police officers to do this.
To service this 17 to 20.
Well, it says 5 police officers and 60% will be charged. I'm not sure what that meant, and that question never got answered.
How many of that headcount are related to 17 to 20?
Right. So I don't know, and you might ask Briarcliff that question.
But they haven't responded to you?
No, they haven't responded.
But that was one of your questions.
Yeah.
And then the highway department, does Briarcliff have a highway department?
Yes, Briarcliff has a DPW, just like the Village of Ossining has a DPW. They have they have their own sanitation, but because sanitation is a special district, the way we read the law, you would still keep your sanitation with the contracted. We actually went out for a contract with that, and we again invited the Village of Briarcliff, the Village of Ossining, and outside agencies to give us to fill out the request for proposal. Briarcliff and Ossining chose not to this time. Doesn't mean they won't next time. And Suburban Carting, who was doing your service, came in with a very fantastic price, and we were very happy with it. And keeping the 2 pickups a week and the whole bit, because people are starting to look at those different options to save tax dollar and money. So
you said that contract expires when?
The carting one, the sanitation. It's actually a 4-year contract. We're just going into our 2nd year of it. It's renewable every year type of contract.
So you would be bound to this contract?
Well, they're bound to this reduced rate, which we're very pleased.
No, I mean, but if 17 and 20 did go through.
Oh yeah, you stay with the bond.
Contract until it expires.
Right. Right.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to respond. Stacy, you said that we've gone through this a couple of times. And I think our town attorney will correct me if I'm wrong. I think the conversation came up before, but the difference is that this time they presented petitions with enough signatures in order to trigger the legal process. Is that correct?
Yes.
So that's why you feel like Groundhog Day. But before,
It actually never went this far.
it never went this far legally. And so now we're in the legal process. So I just wanted an answer to that.
Is there anybody else that would like to talk on this topic? And I do apologize that I have a cold.
It's so close to it.
I know.
Supervisor, I'd just like to, just mention one more thing.
Go ahead, come down to the microphone.
Just for all those who think they're leaving the town of Ossining, you're not. Briarcliff is a village within the town of Ossining, and as one of the supporters for the annexation said at the public hearing, We're staying in Ossining. We love Ossining. You get the benefit of continuing in the Ossining School District, because we're not going to be part of Briarcliff, which is an award school. We're very much in favor of the programs that they have. We have achieved great status in the country for some of our science programs, as everybody knows. So we're not going to Briarcliff for the school district. We're staying in Ossining School District. We get the benefit of both Briarcliff and Ossining recreation programs, so that's an enhancement. So we're not leaving Ossining. We're always going to be a part of Ossining, even though we might be part of the village of Briarcliff. But you're still going to be an Ossining resident. And I think that it's unfortunate that people think that people want to go to Briarcliff just for the sake of having a Briarcliff address. I presently have a Briarcliff address. That is not a reason. And I think that, I don't feel like I'm anybody different. I was here in Ossining. I've been here for 40 years plus. My children have gone to the Ossining School District. I have served the community ever since I got here. So I'm not leaving Ossining. I don't want to leave Ossining. I'm going there for other reasons. I'm in support of the annexation simply because of a taxation reason. And when you can get your services delivered directly from a municipality and not have to add on another layer, just like you go to buy wholesale rather than retail, there is a savings. There is a tax savings. And if a 26% reduction in taxes doesn't mean much to some people, well then, God bless you all. So I think it's kind of...
Well, again, I just want to point out that it's Barbara's absolutely correct. If this proposed annexation was even to take place, you would still be in the town of Ossining, but you would be in the general umbrella government of Ossining, which would be for your tax receiver and your assessing. Again, I'd like to point out, and I encourage people to look at the webpage. I'm not sure where this 26% tax savings is if you look at the hiring of the police and DPW that is stated by Briarcliff. So.
I just would like to add that Briarcliff goal to become a coterminous status would not, our taxes would change, and that information has never been given to us. But I do believe that our school tax in 1720, we would stay in Ossining schools, but our tax rate would be different if we were not in the town of Ossining. Correct?
Well, yeah, but that's a whole other process that would happen.
It's a whole other process, but we're not being told about that, and that if we get annexed, and then they go to get coterminous status, it will definitely change our taxes, and I think that information, although it's not part of this process, should be given to us, and that everyone should be aware of that.
And I just want to point out one more thing, that when we did do our reanalysis of some of the numbers, we took in the assessed value, of 17 and 20 and added it in. So it's not like we didn't do it apples, we just wanted to make sure. We took the assessed value of 1720, added it to the village of Briarcliff, and then put in the 10 new employees. So I just want to make that clear, that a lot of work was done in the office to get to these numbers. A lot of finance hours were spent, and town supervisor office hours were spent doing that. So, okay.
Hi, my name is Jill Chase-Tenak, and I live in District 20. I've been to the majority of the meetings, I think all of them. We've got my letter on record. I am not in favor of it. I think it's been a waste of time and money, precious time and money so far, and I would like to see it come to an end. So if you're looking for support to the negative, that's my vote.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, so do we want to stop now to do the special meeting, or do we want to continue on the agenda? Okay, another item that we have on our agenda tonight, we just wanted to make sure we heard from anybody that wanted to discuss it, pro or con, so that we had the last bit of information before we made our decision next week. I will point out that we've been told that we didn't spend a lot of time on this. We spent a tremendous amount of time on the proposed annexation. One of the things that we are moving forward with, and this would not matter where you lived as long as you live in the town of Ossining, so that again is the unincorporated area, the village of Ossining, and 91%, or it depends on how you look at the assessed values of Briarcliff Manor, is that we are going into a revaluation update. So we're going to ask Fernando to come up, and Fernando Gonzalez is the assessor for the town of Boston. I'm sorry, I apologize for tonight. Is our assessor, and he's just going to start giving us a brief preview of some of the public relations information and as what is a revaluation and how are we moving forward with it. Fernando?
Good evening. I want to thank.
You have to get very close.
I want to thank Supervisor Donnelly and the town board for giving me the opportunity to discuss with you assessment as well as the revaluation, and for delivering such a captive audience tonight. But before I give an update as to where we are with the revaluation effort, I would like to make a few announcements. Currently, we are working on the 2014 roll in order to publish a tentative roll by June 1st. This is the deadline. June 1st is the deadline to process all exemption applications and renewals. The necessary renewal applications and forms have already been mailed to you. If you have not received one, please contact the assessor's office. 7628274 is our number, or you can send us an email at assessoremail@townofossining.com. Please submit your applications or renewals as soon as possible. We realize that you have to get your income information and or prepare your income tax return. This is also the time that we update the roll for assessed value changes related to inventory changes, building permits, demolitions, etc. Please avail yourself of our open door policy, as many residents have done in the past few years. If you would like to have an informal discussion or review of your current assessment, please give us a call, make an appointment, and we will be glad to sit down with you and review your assessment. We have posted sales information on the assessor's page at the townofossining.com website. This will give you an idea of what homes are selling for in your neighborhood. You do not need an attorney, or you also don't need to hire one of the assessment review companies that will be flooding our neighborhoods with solicitations in the next few months. This year, Grievance Day will be Tuesday, June 17th. Equitable distribution of property taxes require a fair and equitable assessment roll. The only way to establish a fair and equitable assessment roll is to collect, correct, and update the entire inventory of all parcels in order to establish accurate market values. This has not been done in the town of Ossining since the 1970s, and the cost of tax refunds required by assessment challenges is a constant drain on our budget, not only the town, but the schools and the villages. The town of Ossining is a member of the Multiple Municipal Reassessment Consortium. This consortium, spearheaded by the town of Greenberg and the city of Yonkers, since last year, have been involved in looking into the possibility of performing a reassessment of all properties. Other municipalities involved in the consortium is the town of Bedford, the town and village of Mount Kisco, the village of Pleasantville, the town of North Salem, the town of Newcastle, and the city of Pisgah. The consortium issued an RFP last year for a contractor to perform the reassessment of all the parcels, and a monitor responsible for the overall project management, analysis, and direct project coordination of all aspects of the project. We received multiple bids, and after careful analysis and negotiations, Tyler Technologies was chosen as the contractor and Michael Haberman and Associates as the project monitor. The final contract is completed, and we are in the process of signing the individual contract by each municipality. The initial phase of the project is the public information program that will start shortly and will be ongoing. There will be multiple public information meetings and presentations in the town, the villages of Ossining and Briarcliff Manor, the Ossining and Briarcliff School District, and civic, religious, and professional organizations. During the next few weeks, we will have more details as to where and when these meetings will be taking place. A dedicated website will also be available to provide step-by-step information and updates. After the initial public information phase, the next phase is the data collection. The data collection will start in April or as soon as the weather permits. Data collection, data validation, and correction process again is also ongoing. The next phase is the evaluation phase. This phase will commence in the summer of 2015. This phase will lead to assessment disclosure notices in early 2016 with the opportunity to have individual informal meetings to discuss the new assessment. The value change notices will be completed in May 2016 for a tentative roll date of June 1st, 2016. The final roll, September 15, 2016. This roll will first be utilized for your 2017 tax bill. So basically, we will be determining on a very detailed basis as we enter the kickoff meeting, possibly next week or the week after, with the initial 3 municipalities that will be starting the reevaluation process. I believe the town of Greenberg has already signed and completed the contract with both vendors, and the city of Yonkers is in the same stage as we are. Of course, in the case of the town of Greenberg and the town of Ossining, we have similar assessment calendars. So the town of Greenberg's calendar is the same as ours. The city of Yonkers has a different calendar, so they will be starting possibly a few months later, since their final roll date is December instead of September. But the process is going forward, and hopefully at the next town meeting, most of the time will be dedicated to specifics and details as to what will happen during these phases of the reevaluation process. Open for questions.
Is this going to be a door-to-door? You're going to be walking around properties or
Yes.
area?
Very good question. The data collection is the most visible.
I don't think they heard it, so can we repeat? She asked whether people would be going door to door to collect data.
The data collection is the most visible process, the costlier and most important in the process. Data collectors will be going door to door in coordination and with the municipalities and the police department. They will be not only trained, hired by Tyler Technologies, they will have identification, and each individual hire will be approved by the consortium. They will be going door to door, knocking on doors, trying to do an inspection of the property. If they are unable to get anyone home, then they will send notices out requesting an appointment.
Okay, so you make an appointment in advance.
You could make an appointment in advance.
Someone just doesn't walk around your private, I don't want to leave my 100-pound German Shepherd out in the backyard, and someone just walks around.
No, they will not walk around, particularly if there is an unsafe situation. I just want to point out that Tyler Technologies is well-known, not only the largest, but also the leading company when it comes to revaluation and assessment technology and software. So they're very well versed in doing this type of projects. They are the ones that are completing the project in Scarsdale as we speak. In Scarsdale, they are in the final stages where the 2015 roll will be the first roll after the revaluation of full market value.
How long the process will it be?
The process is about 2 years. The new roll will be the 2016 roll, and this roll will be utilized for the 2017 taxes. The roll will reflect full market values, so we will not have to deal with a residential assessment ratio or an equalization rate.
I have 2 questions. Do they walk around the inside of the house as well?
They will request an interior inspection as well, yes.
Right. And then once the reval is done, to keep the reval updated, what's the process for that?
Once the
reval is done in
Yes.
2017,
once the reval is done in 2016, the next year, 2017, and for 3 years, we will do updates on the values. I also would like to point out that part of this revaluation project, we will be instituting new software provided by Tyler Technologies. It's called IAS World, which is the latest internet-based, cloud-based software, which will allow us to do mass appraisals and maintain values and do individual appraisals on as needed basis. So we will be updating the technology, and with that updates, we will have all the information available online for you to view your inventory, sales, pictures of the property, and all the information.
What about those homeowners that don't want to allow the inspection?
The question is, what about those homeowners that would not allow an inspection? We cannot by law force them to allow us. We will make the best effort possible to place a value on those properties based on the information that we have, that we can gather from aerial photography, MLS systems, building records, etc. It is very important that community support is given to this effort, because that's how we can come up with the best values possible for the properties. Values that are similar to market values.
Are you going to be assessing the businesses?
All the properties, all 10,138 parcels, including Sing Sing Prison, and every property in the town.
I'd be careful going in there.
Okay, can you
make a point. I'm sorry.
I have 2 questions. You mentioned at the beginning of your remarks that you sent out applications. Could you clarify what kind of applications they were?
These are applications for renewals of exemptions.
Is that the STAR program?
That's the STAR program, the Senior STAR, which is an income documentation required, and also the aged exemption, the veterans exemption, and also all the non-for-profit organizations that have the exemptions. Yes.
I have another follow-up question. I represent a condominium association. How will condos be treated? And if your condo was built, you said you hadn't reevaluated since the 1970s, but if your condo was built in the late 1990s, that valuation then reflected 1990s prices, right? So you would build up from the 1990s to today, not from 1970. Is that correct?
Well, very good question, and a complicated topic. Condos currently, under New York state law, are required to be assessed as an apartment building, which would be based on the income approach, or how much rental income this building would provide. under the current law, and it will be the analysis. This reassessment will allow us to do the analysis whether the homestead law can be adopted by the municipalities, the school districts, and what this homestead law requires is an analysis as to whether the value based on the market that these units are selling for individually, or the value based on the income, and the analysis will be presented for the municipalities to make a decision whether to have two tax rates, one for the commercial properties and one for the residential properties. And if the homestead law is adopted, then we will be able to tax the condominium units based on the market approach, which is what they're selling for. But again, that's a topic for down the road when the research and the analysis is done. We will have to have very much more detailed information on that.
One more question. Who adopts the Homestead Act? Is it the municipality, or is it the state, or is it the village, or is it
The municipalities, in this case the villages, the town, and the school districts.
How would you assess a property that's listed as mixed use, residential and business?
Very good question. How do we assess a property that is listed as mixed use? For example, a storefront building, downtown village with 2 apartments upstairs and a deli on the first floor. Those are commercial properties which are assessed most often based on the income approach. If it's what we in the industry refer to as a mom and pop building, many times we have enough data we mean by comparable sales to place a value based on the market approach.
I guess I'm just confused of why you have to enter homes. If you're usually would be based on the square footage of a home. If somebody makes an addition or puts on a deck. I mean, are you suggesting that if somebody lived there 40 years and decides to put in new kitchen appliances and the neighbor next door hasn't updated their appliances, are you basing that on the value? My kitchen is more valuable than the house next door?
Of course, one of the determinants of value is condition. The best way to determine condition is to do an interior inspection. Some homeowners do constant updates, kitchen, bathroom, etc. And some homeowners do. So by determining the condition, then we can grade this property, whether it's normal, whether it's good, whether it's fair. So an interior inspection is a good, the only way to differentiate whether what the property condition is. The condition also relates to the finishes, whether it has granite countertop and marble floors, or formica tops and vinyl tiles, whether it has tiles or fiberglass walls in the bathroom.
Or even more importantly, did someone finish their basement or add a bathroom to their house, or and they didn't get a building permit? Because if you did it and you got a building permit, that building permit process goes through the assessor's office. But if you didn't do that, some of our meetings we'll have the building inspectors in here, hopefully from the 2 villages and from the unincorporated area, and it will be stressing that if you didn't get a building permit when you did something, please feel free to get to their office as soon as possible. So.
Yes.
When a home is sold, the assessed value of the home, it's my understanding, doesn't change as a function of what they paid for the home.
Under the current system, that is the case.
Under the current system.
Yes.
And therefore, with the housing slump that took place several years ago, many houses, and that's why a number of people have applied for tax abatement based upon their what the houses, the comparable houses have gone down in value.
Yes.
And unless they challenged it, they would get no changes in their assessed value. In a number of states, the assessment of the home changes with the sale of the home. The house, which in the past was for $500,000, sells for $600,000. The new person buying it for $600,000 is now having a house at full value, now assessed at $600,000, comparably $400,000 would have it reduced. When we go into this process in a few years, are we going to continue with the process of not reevaluating for another 40 years, or is there going to be constant updating of assessments?
The intent is to continue updating. Under the current system, you cannot adjust the assessment based on a sale. But if you bought the house for lower than it's assessed for, you can avail yourself of the current grievance process to seek a reduction, which is granted. Conversely, if you buy a house for a lot more than it's assessed for $200,000 and you pay $500,000, we cannot increase the assessment to reflect the current market value. That would be considered selective assessing. But if you do maintain your values at full market values, then we will be able to maintain and update the assessment to reflect the current market value. So that what we mean is that in neighborhoods where the market values increases, then we will be able to increase it. There are neighborhoods, for whatever reason, external weather or nature, where the values may go down, and then we would be able to adjust those values accordingly. So as you can see, the current system is not sustainable. Yes?
What will happen to properties that are found to have illegal uses, for example, non-conforming?
Well, our main goal is to establish current market values, assess values that reflect current market values based on the current use. If the current use is contrary to what is allowed by law, that situation would have to be addressed by the building department. The building department has access to all of our records and systems, and the legal process, they will have to, the owners will have to proceed with whatever requirements there are to meet the building department regulations. Let me point out to you that under the currently, when someone buys or sells a house, many times these homeowners who have finished the basement without a permit or added a bathroom or have a second kitchen, a two-family and a one-family, they have to go to the building department and legalize, as we call it, legalize that improvement.
Fernando, can I ask a question? So, I think some residents might be concerned that that some with, say, non-conforming uses or non-permitted improvements might have incentive not to allow the Tyler investigators to come into their house. What compensating factors are there that ensure that the people who are letting people into their house are not being punished for actually contributing and doing their fair share for this whole process?
Well, the intent is not to be punishing, but to establish fair and equitable assessment so that people pay only their fair share. And the fair share is based on what the current market value is on that property. We do get a lot of information from various databases that are available to us, and where we have enough information that point us to the fact that there is a finished basement, or we would update the record and assess accordingly, and the homeowner or property owner will always have the opportunity to communicate with us and correct us if we're wrong, or help us get the correct data on every property. So during this whole process of revaluation, there will be multiple times whether it be face-to-face, via email or telephone, to communicate what the correct inventory is on a property. In many cases, all this information will be available online, and in many cases, in other jurisdictions that I have worked, homeowners pointed out the differences if they were aware of that. The next door neighbor perhaps had a finished attic, etc. So,
are you allowed to make assumptions that will drive the assessed value up even though you haven't been in the house?
well, we have to make the best assessment possible to place a value on a property that best reflects market value. Of course, when cases like this, when situations like this arise, we will err on the side of caution and do what would be the best thing for the rest of the residents of the town of Ossipee.
I have a question. What happens with individuals who just have privacy concerns? It's not that they're hiding anything. They might be happy to have you go around their house, but maybe there's something in their home, things of value that they're concerned of having some stranger walk around. What could we do for them?
We will make the best effort to, again, establish values that are reflective of market. Definitely, we would not want to impose on an individual's concept of privacy. We would have to get information and review the information given. I mean, when you have gone into as many properties and have been into different styles, many times with most, I would say, with most of the current building styles, you can pretty much tell what's inside. While the predominant determination of value is square footage, so you measure the outside, you know, making the best educated effort as to condition, of course, is going to be guesswork. But again, we would do what would be best for the entire town.
And we would never have a situation where someone would go into a home where someone from that home was not with them either. You know, it's not a question of, we're never going to enter a home that's empty. We're never going to enter a home that doesn't have someone that wouldn't walk around with that person. You know, well, give us an average time of that somebody might be in their home for. 5 minutes? Just a walk. It's a walkthrough.
It's a walkthrough. 5-10 minutes. They're not going to be taking interior pictures or anything like that. It's just a quick walkthrough to confirm. Most often, a quick review. You know, it's a raised ranch with 3 bedrooms, 2 baths on the upper floor, and a family room with a full bath and a 2-car garage. You know, we know what that looks like. You know, there are very few variations of those.
Oftentimes, with insurance companies as well as the refinancing with the banks and so on, similar inspection or questionnaire is given to the homeowner to establish the value. Would you be accessing any of that information or requesting it from, let's say, a homeowner who recently got refinanced, has the bank assessment,
the appraisal report,
which has all the detail in it?
We would look at any information that you can provide to us in order to assist us in establishing the correct market value of the property. A recent appraisal report done for a refinance or purchase is a very good report. So we would welcome the opportunity to look at those.
If a homeowner wanted to just give you that, as opposed to make an appointment for someone to walk through, would that be sufficient?
That could be, we would have to discuss it, depends on how recent it is and what type of sale it was used for purchase. I just wanted to point out that in order for the data collectors to enter a property, we need to have a responsible adult present, otherwise they would not enter to do an interior inspection.
Could you tell us again, when are the first informational meetings going to be done?
Stay posted to our website. We will have multiple meetings throughout the town and villages.
But starting this spring?
Starting in the next few weeks.
Starting in the next few
Oh,
weeks.
okay.
Yes.
And let's say that you said you were representing a condominium development. Do you want to tell us which one?
Mystic Point.
Okay, Mystic Point. Let's say that Mystic Point invited us to come. We would do an informational, we want to get out to as many people as we can, small groups, large groups, whatever, and so that we can.
Large.
Yes, yes, I've been to Mystic Point, they do have a large group.
No, I mean,
And-
interest.
Yeah, oh, that's what I meant. But anybody that wants to, in fact, we'll have Fernando put that down to contact people, okay?
Yes.
Any kinds of groups that want us to sit with them, we'll sit with them and go over
If
everything.
you represent an association or professional, civic, or religious association, we can get a group together to do a presentation and an informational meeting as to the specifics of the reval. I'll be glad to take your information. Yes, sir.
So when it's all said and done, does half the properties go up and half go down? Like where's water sit? You know?
Well, in the town of Ossining, we are fortunate that we have been updating and putting into the current real property system most of the inventory information for residential and some of the commercial properties. To answer your question, usually that is typically the case. The history shows, even in a couple of recent revaluation projects in Mamaroneck and Scarsdale, that it was, maybe close to that, one third, or 25, 40, 35, something like that.
But with the equalization rate that's already added in, we always use my house, good, bad, or indifferent, when we do things up here, and it's valued at $20,000. It's when you go to full value, we won't have to worry about that equalization rate, which last year was 6.1. 6.29.
The prior year was 6.1.
And so you don't have that, because when you get that, when you get your market value, you're going to find, if you look at your tax bills with the market value compared to the assessed value, it really does come out to more or less what your neighborhood's houses are selling for. Unless you're very undervalued or because you got stuck in that whole recession, you're overvalued. So.
Many people by this time have availed themselves of the opportunity to grieve their assessment, whether formally through the grievance process or informally directly through the office. So we have diminished the amount of over-assessed properties. However, under the current system, under-assessed properties do not voluntarily come forward to have their assessment increased. So.
Why is that?
Water doesn't run uphill.
Gentlemen, way in the back.
If you do a walk-in and if you don't take any pictures, say my neighbor put in a really nice kitchen, has a big screen hanging on the wall, a couple of nice art pieces, how do you document that? Does the representative of the company just walk through and say, here's some nice art, and then...
Well, we're not looking at personal property. We are looking at, for example, whether the kitchen is finished with granite countertops versus formica. What are the finishing surfaces that would make a property be excellent versus poor, or just good or average?
Because that artwork and that big screen, they're going to take with them when they move, so that we don't count.
So the data collectors will be trained to make a judgment as to, or actually, the data collectors will be trained to document the conditions. Okay, the people that place the value on the property will make a judgment call. Okay? So it's a lot of training and a lot of experience involved in doing this. The sales, a lot of the data to make those judgment calls or those value calls comes from the analysis of sales and the condition of sales. So it's a process that requires not only a lot of actual physical data collection, but requires a lot of background analysis and manipulation of data.
One of the things is, as we said before, you'll all be encouraged to look online, and you'll be able to see your house. You'll be able to see all of the characteristics that were put in. How many bathrooms you have, how many bedrooms you have, what the condition was, and you can go back to the assessors. And again, remember, we have this open door policy that you can do it now, you can do it then. You can go back. You'll be able to email the assessor's office and say, listen, I don't agree with this, and so. This whole process is to make sure that just everyone has fair and equitable taxation of what they actually have in their home.
Just going back to my point about the bank inspection or appraisal or the insurance, well, insurance not so much, but let's just say in the case of a refi or any purpose. For the sake of efficiency and savings, maybe on the cost of going out to every house, would there be a request from the homeowners, like sort of a blanket, anybody who's had a assessment over the last year, send it in to us, that would be helpful for us, or is that?
No. We will consider it on an individual basis, but no, it would not be a blanket request. As you know, properties are bought and sold for various reasons. And the idea here is to get the most current, up-to-date condition in order to play the correct market value, current market value. Yes, ma'am.
What percentage of the land that this property is on is in the assessment? In other words, if your house is sitting on an acre of land, what percentage is that acre towards the assessment?
The land value will be established as well. In order to complete the process, we have to establish land tables. So the system will be able to come up with a land value by neighborhood based on sales. So, of course, given the same condition in the same neighborhood, if you have a 1 acre versus a quarter of an acre, of course the 1 acre parcel has more value, but of course if you have an acre that is off a cliff and it's not usable, we have to make that call. And that's why the physical inspection is required.
Did I understand you correctly to say that there will be no further requirement for the equalization rate to be used? And if so, how will county taxes be assessed when the entire county isn't going through the assessment?
There will be no need for the equalization rate, provided that we maintain the values at current market values, and that the analysis that the State Office of Real Property Tax Service does indicates that our value are within a range that is acceptable to deem it full value at 100% of market value. As far as the apportionment, when you question the county taxes, it would be simpler for us because now we just take the total taxable assessed value for the town, no equalization rate, and that's it, versus now where we take the current taxable assessed value divided by the equalization rate that gives us the market values. Communities that have done a revaluation and are at full market value, such as Scarsdale, Mamaroneck, Bronxville, Pelham, they just take the total taxable value and this is it. They don't have to divide it by the equalization rate to establish what the current market value is to do the apportionment. Yes, sir.
Hi. Just out of curiosity, I'm letting this person in.
Am I indemnified against them their falling or breaking any property on my house?
The, one of the, and the reason,
Behind it. Yeah.
Say the question again, too.
the question is, he's letting the data collectors in, and if they fall or cause injury or damage, is the property owner indemnified? The answer is yes. These are professional contractor who is doing this throughout the United States, and the town and the consortium requirement is for this, both the monitor of the project and the contractor to have the required insurance and to indemnify us as well as the property owner of those eventualities. The reason this has taken a little longer than we expected, and I was hoping to have a full-blown presentation tonight during this town hall meeting, but because we have to finalize the contract and have the proper attorney review, all of these situations have to be considered and addressed in the contract.
Not to steal his thunder, we got to look at the contract first. I haven't seen that contract entirely yet, so I want to make sure that that's actually correct before we make a statement that's absolute on that point. Because typically, people are responsible for negligence. And if there's a condition in your house that potentially could be a negligent condition, I can't tell you right now what the contract is going to say, but it's a point, and I'm glad you brought it up, because it's going to be looked at in the contract. Thank you.
To add to that point, coming from an insurance man's point of view, I have 35 years in the insurance business. There's what they call, if somebody gets hurt on your premises, then there's contingency liability or the loss of consortium by a wife. So the employee who's covered under workers' compensation would be covered by their employer. But that doesn't mean that the homeowner is impervious from a possible suit. And of course,
well, there's a whole body of law on that. There is workers' compensation is the first level of insurance, but there is generally an opportunity to sue a third party. They're called a tortfeasor in certain instances when there are very, very serious injuries, generally speaking. So those are points that will be looked at when I see and review the contract.
Thank you, but I was pointing out that we're all at risk of the same situation. Pretty much everywhere you go in and out of the level. Somebody else had a question?
Okay.
I trust that this assessment will be for businesses as well as residents?
Yes, it will be for commercial
You
properties.
came a couple of minutes late, but yes, it would be all commercial properties.
And so theoretically, if the businesses were valued very high and the residences were low, all of the residences here would get a nice tax break.
Theoretically, yes. But market value, and I'm glad
Fair and equitable.
and I'm glad you brought that point, that the business will also be, the data for the business will be collected. And the data is not only the physical condition, size, and everything that goes with the inventory, but as well as the income. We will be sending out mailers asking the business to provide income and expense data in order for us to place the correct market value on those business, whatever their use is. Also, in business, it's easier because there is a lot more market data available, and since businesses are assessed based on the income approach, the market data is available from various suppliers.
We'll take this last question up here. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. This gentleman, and then you, and then there's going to be millions of meetings about this, so. Yeah.
Use any of the non-invasive methods such as Google Earth, see the property, locate it, and find out if it's
have all this stuff. It's not going here.
Yes, we do.
The question was, do you use Google Earth and all the other new applications out there that you can practically see someone barbecuing? Well, they can see somebody barbecuing on their back deck, so yeah, they use it now.
We use it now, not only Google Earth, we have Pictometry, which is a system provided by the county that has done several flyovers, taking pictures. Not only do we use the aerial photography, but we use the oblique, which is for photography from street level. So there is a lot of information already there available to be accessed through the internet on a desktop computer. The system that is utilized also gives us the capability of doing a mass comparison of the flyover from 2009 versus the most recent flyover, which I think was this past year, and determine whether this particular property has a larger square footage or footprint, or if there is a deck, etc. So there are many tools available to assist us in making collecting the data to do the best estimate of value. However, having said that, I would point out that doing a physical inspection still remains as the best method of collecting data.
Let's get this gentleman in the way back, if you sure.
When you were determining the fair market value of a commercial property, you mentioned the income and the expenses, which I assume you mean rental income and rental expenses. What about an owner-occupied commercial structure?
Well, the market value is derived from the potential income that property can derive. So although the property is utilized by its owner to run a business or to live in it, but if it's a commercial property with multiple apartments, then we would take what would be the fair market rents for that property that the owner occupies.
I'm not talking about a rental apartment building. I'm referring more to a business where an owner is a lawyer. He's got his office building in a commercial district, and he occupies it. I mean, are you going to ask him what the rental potential is of his building?
Many times, you'll be surprised, many times the owner of those properties have a corporation that owns the real estate and a corporation that runs the business. However, the market value established for those properties are based on market values. What would another attorney would pay to rent that space?
Okay,
What is
so
the market for that office or that
Then that
or
commercial
that retail?
building is not evaluated on an income basis. Then it's evaluated on a different basis.
Well, it's based on the unit's potential income. The unit's potential, the property's potential gross income.
So who determines the property's potential gross income?
The market. The market. We look at comparable rentals in the area.
Okay, it's 9:15, and this is the first of many, many meetings that we're going to have, whether we have them at in a condominium awareness campaign that we're going through. I think we need to move into a special session of our meeting tonight so that we can vote on again, this is one step in the process of making our final determination about the proposed annexation of 17 and 20. And this is simply that we had to, a part of the process is that we had to have a secret process done, which is going to tell us if there's any environmental issues with doing this process or not. It's simply a yes or no. We have determined our planning consultants have determined that there is no environmental issues. So we're going to now vote on a negative declaration simply on environmental issues. Next Tuesday we will vote on our final determination as to whether the annexation of 1720 would be in the best interest of the entire community of Ossining. Madam Clerk, do you have a motion to adjourn? Adjourn into special meeting?
Yes.
And second by Gwen.
Councilmember Harder.
Present.
Councilmember Jeffrey.
Present.
Councilmember Blaha.
Present.
Councilmember Wilshire.
Present.
Supervisor Donnelly.
Present.
The resolution adopting a negative declaration in connection with proposed annexation of election districts 17 and 20 from the unincorporated area of the town of Ossining to the village of Briarcliff Manor. Whereas the town board is considering the proposed annexation of election districts 17 and 20 from the unincorporated area of the town of Ossining to the village of Briarcliff Manor by reason of the submission of a petition in accordance with Article 7 of the General Municipal Law of the State of New York, and whereas the town board has determined that the proposed action is a Type 1 action pursuant to Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law, Part 617 NYCRR, commonly known as SECRA, and pursuant to Chapter 85 of the Town Code, the Town Environmental Quality Review Law, which establishes locally designated Type 1 actions. And whereas the town board has determined that the proposed annexation is an action for which there are no other involved agencies, and that the town board is therefore the lead agency of this action, and whereas Frederick P. Clark Associates Incorporated, the town's planning consultant, has prepared a full environmental assessment form regarding the proposed annexation, which EAF analyzes the potential environmental impacts regarding the proposed annexation. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. 1, the town board hereby adopts and incorporates the resuscitations and statements set forth above as if fully set forth and resolved herein. 2, the town board of the town of Ossining hereby adopts the attached negative declaration for the reasons stated therein, thereby finding that the proposed annexation, without addressing the potential physical aspects and the aspects regarding the provision of services to the 2 election districts, will have no significant adverse physical impact upon the environment, and thereby ending the secret process with respect to said proposed annexation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight that came out, and I want to thank the audience that couldn't get here tonight. These are 2 of our extremely, 2 of many projects we're working on, but 2 interesting ones. And one we see as coming to a close as far as us taking action on it, and one we're just beginning. So please, if you do not have internet access in any way, shape, or form, please feel free to call us at the office at 762-6001, and we will gladly mail you in hard copy any and all documentation that comes out about any subject that comes before this board. This is we really work very hard at making sure that we are as transparent as possible, and that everyone has the proper information that they should have for on any subject. So again, we'd like to thank everybody for coming out. I apologize that I have a cold tonight. And thank you, Fernando, for doing an excellent job as the very beginning of the public information about the revaluation of the town of Ossining. So have a great week, and we'll see you next Tuesday at our legislative meeting at the courthouse on Spring Street. And it is a very, very full agenda, so we encourage everyone to look at it. There's a lot going on. Thank you.